I just came across a video clip from Fox News Sunday where the host was interviewing Attorney General Pam Bondi. And she asks her about all this nonsense having to do with Donald Trump running for a third term. Now, I want you to listen to what Pam Bondi says and what this host says because I have a couple of comments. So let me pull it up here. Okay, watch this.
Another headline, there's chatter about President Trump seeking a third term. He has said, quote, there are methods. Is this just one of his epic trolls? Or does he or do you believe there is a method short of amending the Constitution by which he could seek a third term?
President Trump has served one full term. He's on his second full term. He's a very smart man, and I wish we could have him for 20 years as our president, but I think he's going to be finished probably after this term.
Probably.
Well, the Constitution, we'd have to look at the Constitution.
It would be a heavy lift, and whether you get two-thirds of the Senate and House to go along with you, but is the concession that that's really the only way to do it?
It'd be a heavy lift.
Okay. Attorney General, we thank you for your time.
Okay. Couple things about that. First of all, it's obvious that Pam Bondi knows this is all bullshit. She knows he can't run for a third term, so that's why she's kind of laughing about it. And Donald Trump's a smart man, meaning he knows he can't run for a third term. But she can't come out and say that, right? Because she can't get ahead of Donald Trump on this issue, and Trump is still teasing this, so she's got to play the game. But really what I want to focus on is Shannon Bream, the host here, and how these people do such a horrible job, right? She's interviewing the Attorney General. Obviously, she prepared for this interview. She's got all her papers in front of her. She's got her list of questions. This is all carefully planned out in advance. She knew she was going to ask about this. And so when Pam Bondi says, well, we'd have to look at the Constitution, why doesn't she, and this is rhetorical, I know why she doesn't, because she doesn't ask anyone from the Trump administration difficult questions, but why doesn't she say, you have to look at the Constitution? You're Attorney General of the United States. You've never looked at the Constitution? You don't know what the Constitution says? You don't know what the 22nd Amendment to the Constitution says? You have to look at it? Or how about this, Shannon Bream? How about have the Constitution ready and just read for her the section of the Constitution? Say, Attorney General, why don't we look at the Constitution? Here's what the 22nd Amendment says. It says, no person shall be elected to the office of the president more than twice. So I ask you, Attorney General, how is it possible that Donald Trump could run for a third term given that language of the 22nd Amendment? How about be prepared and ask a question like that? But of course she's not going to do that. And then Shannon Bream just lets her get away with saying, we'd have to look at the Constitution. And then she says, she brings up the amendment process. Okay, it's the only way to do it, amending the Constitution, where you'd need 2/3 of the House and 2/3 of the Senate. That sounds like a heavy lift. That's not all it would take. It would take a 2/3 vote in the House, a 2/3 vote in the Senate, and that's just to send the amendment out to the states. It would still have to be ratified by 3/4 of the states. So just the 2/3 vote in both houses wouldn't be enough. Anyway, this whole thing is just so freaking asinine, and I'm so sick of our pathetic media. And especially, Fox News. They just go on Fox News because they know they're not going to get a single difficult question. And this is where the Trump cult gets all of their news and information. So it doesn't matter, for example, if someone from ABC or CBS or CNN actually asks difficult questions. And oftentimes they don't do either. But even if they did, the Trump cult would never see it, because they get their news exclusively from Fox News and Newsmax and those kinds of places where difficult questions are never put to Donald Trump or anyone from his regime. And today, for example, they're all out there spinning these tariffs, and they have been since he announced them, that these are actually good things. These people, they pretend to be these big tax cutters, and that's what they're going to be doing here. They're going to be passing this massive tax cut that's really only going to benefit the rich. But they pretend to be for tax cuts. Yet, Donald Trump, unilaterally, on his own, just announced the biggest tax hike in American history, and they're all cheering and making excuses for why this is the greatest thing. Oh, how much money this is going to raise. Well, whatever money it raises, where's that money coming from? The American people. It's essentially a sales tax on the American people. And they're cheering. But this is what they get. This is how their minds, this is how they are brainwashed. And so many people who watch Fox News, they literally watch for hour after hour after hour. And a lot of these older folks, these retired people, they have it on from the moment they wake up to the moment they go to sleep. This is really brainwashing. That's what it is. Anyway, just thought I'd share my thoughts on that. Thanks for watching. Talk to you again soon.